This channel is sponsored by Truefire, and for the next few days they're running a buy one get one free promotion. So this means that if there was any particular course that you were looking at grabbing on Truefire, you can get one and get another free. I don't really need to explain to you what buy one get one free means, do I? Follow the links in the description, and yeah, Truefire, thanks for sponsoring the channel. I imagine some of you guys, you've already known about this for a while, but ToneX basically got an update a little while ago. Now, I've been doing some videos with IK Multimedia, and I kind of said, do you mind if I do a video sort of checking out version 2? Because I quite like the ToneX platform, and there's lots of stuff that I like about it, in particular, like the Joe Bonamassa Dumble captures. But up till this point, I've not really done too much of my own kind of capturing for a number of reasons, but I could never quite jive with it. But I thought, you know, I'd take another shot at it. And for this video, I actually ended up capturing my Deluxe Reverb. So I updated to version 2. I've got a Steinberg UR RT4 over there. So in terms of getting it set up, like it's a little bit squiffy. You've got to get it to pick the ASIO driver and then route it in the correct way to get it working, and then use a reamp box. But I got there eventually and ran the model parts, and the results, I think, are pretty good. Now, some of the things that IK Multimedia is saying are improved a latency. I think in terms of like the actual captures themselves, those have been improved as well, like the process. It's been a little bit streamlined. I did find it a bit easier than the first time to get this done. The other thing that's quite cool is there's this batch processing now. So you could, if you were, wanting to do this noisy part when someone was out of the house, for example, like today, I did 2 of the sort of capturing parts. So one with just the Deluxe Reverb on 6, and then with the Van Wilden Royal Overdrive. And then you can come back later on, and even this survives through like a computer restart. You can come back and then batch process them and then finalize those tones. So I was really quite happy with that, because it meant that at one stage I had to restart my computer. I was doing some other things in between capturing, and then I just went back and finalized these models and then played with them. The other thing is that now that you're dealing with like the full effects suite in ToneX, you can get some really, I think, great tones out of there, and then just save the presets with it in mind that at some point you could chuck these onto like the ToneX 1, for example, and this is a really pretty inexpensive piece of gear that can run this stuff, and I think that's quite impressive, really, like a micro, is it called a mini pedal, isn't it? A mini pedal format that can run your full rig. I think that's pretty cool, especially if you end up liking the things that have come out of this. So it's just a ribbon mic in front of a Deluxe Reverb, nothing particularly special. But I'll make them available up on ToneNet if you want to check those out. But speaking of ToneNet, you can now also, if you filter by version 2, you can see some new stuff that other folks have been putting up. I really like Mike Rowe put up this preset of a Bassman. I think it was a ToneMaster Pro capture, but either way, to me, it was like, oh, that's really interesting and fun to play. Then another chap, I'll flash it up here, put up a Mesa Boogie sort of capture. So I find it really interesting to go and sort of check out what other folks are uploading to the ToneNet as well. As well as, of course, like there's great sounding older stuff on there, like the Joe Bonamassa amp captures, the Dumble captures in general, which might be still my go-tos, but I'm now more confident that I could do a capture if I wanted to with ToneX. So that's kind of cool as well, to be able to have this kind of software, hardware capturing thing is still relatively novel, and I'm kind of glad that it exists and didn't have too many troubles with it. So that's been good. Like version 2 is real, it's here, and I think the process is better, and the tones, as you'd expect, are really great too. The latency is slightly improved, apparently. I think it's worth looking at. Okay, so here, if I go into my tone models, you can edit these, by the way. So you can go in here. This is with the Royal Overdrive. If I go in here, this is the one thing that I forgot to do at the time. We'll go for blackface, save. Okay. So, so you can capture them by themselves. Now, one of the things that I think is worth experimenting with is just checking where, like, existing sort of stuff seems to be hitting. So, like, that's your DI. So I can just experiment with increasing the input gain on my interface. And the other thing I quite like to do is jump into your reverb section and just these two captures, I could create, I think, quite a variety of tones. The thing with this versus like a Kemper is that it stays kind of true-ish. Don't sleep on the springs. Yeah, so check that out. Then I've got this one here, which is with the Van Wilden too. And similarly, you know, you could experiment with, you know, whatever you want to try. It's a bit more mid-heavy if you wanted more gain. Could I add in some bass if I go into my advanced section? Maybe bass would be, depth would be more useful. And then once you found something you like, I quite like the idea of saving a preset. I'll show you as well. I also found, like I said, in this Tweed. Don't be afraid to decrease the gain as well. My settings there, I think I'm using ping pong tape and then a plate. Okay, the other one that I found that was cool was, these are what I ended up using in the intro. So yeah, really useful stuff. And the other one in the intro, this one here. But yeah, once you get into the ToneNet, go to this version 2 here, and then you can, you know, check out some of the things that other people have been doing. So this was one other that I checked out. This one. I'm sure there are some. See, there's already, you know, 3,629 there. I'm sure there'll be a bunch of really great stuff. So check that out. In terms of types, I guess I could sort by this, the full. Let's download. That's a great one. Who's that one by? Patty McNoodle. Yeah, nice. Check out some of these guys' stuff. Like, it's just great stuff. I'm going to download that one. Download. And then save that preset. Once I've got that, I come out of ToneNet. JC UA Enigmatic. Okay, and that's kind of how it goes. Yeah, it's just great sounding stuff and feels really good under the hands as well. Good work from IK Multimedia. Thanks for stopping by.